We almost finished yesterday the speech that the Rebbe gave in 1990, the beginning of 1992. We almost finished. We just have one more to go. So we're saying that we're continuing the whole, what we said before, that our job is to bring to the days of the Mashiach. And that was especially accomplished by the Rebbes of Chabad, and especially by the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. That the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, his father founded the yeshivas of Chabad, that made learning of the teachings of Hasidut, which the teachings of Hasidut are the teachings of Mashiach. It says Torah Mashiach. The teachings of Chabad in a practical, orderly way for all of the Chabad youth. It's part of the daily order of the yeshiva, is to learn Hasidut in the morning and the evening. And there's thousands and thousands of pages and written by the Rebbes. Just by our Rebbe, there's like 200 books or something like that, written by the Rebbe, with speeches and deep discourses and letters of this wisdom that's given out. And the whole purpose is to prepare the world for the Mashiach, which the main thing of Mashiach is going to be awareness of God. The whole world will be aware of the closeness of God, the distance of God, the holiness of God, the awesomeness of God, the goodness of God, and especially how that's expressed through the Torah and the commandments and the Jewish people. And this was especially accomplished by the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. And the Rebbe said that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe had 3 periods in his life. One period was before he was Rebbe. Another period was when he became Rebbe in 1920 to 1950. And the third period in his life was after he passed away. Nevertheless, our Rebbe carried on his work, and essentially was just an extension of the previous Rebbe. And the previous Rebbe, the Rebbe said many, many times, is the Mashiach of our generation. And the Rebbes of Chabad are the Mashiach of our generation. But, who the Mashiach is a very important thing. Of course, it's a very important thing. But first of all, you have to understand what the Mashiach is, what the Mashiach is going to do. And Maimonides explains it pretty well. But the main point of Mashiach is education. Educating the world, what is a Jew, what is the Torah, what Hasidut Chabad does. Okay, so then we got up to here. Here's where we got up to last time. Okay, what are we supposed to do? Says the Rebbe, Amadnu, that we are now standing in Shabbat Mevorchim, in the Shabbat, which blesses the month of Shvat, this coming month, and especially the 10th day of Shvat. Are we recording this? Yeah, we're recording. Especially the 10th day of Shvat, which the 10th day of Shvat was in 1950 when the previous Rebbe left this world. And 1 year later, it was when the Rebbe took over. I mean, the Rebbe really took over on the 11th day of Shvat, the day after. So therefore, and because the whole idea of Chabad is only to bring Mashiach, and that is in fact the whole purpose of Judaism, and that's the whole purpose of the world. So therefore, each person has to accept on himself the Hosif to add on Beyeter Sei to Beyeter Oz with more power and more energy in good deeds. Learning Torah and continuing the service of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, Kavod Kedushas Morichami, Nasi Dorenu. He's the leader of our generation. I share that Horanu, that he taught us from his ways, that we should go in his path eternally. And especially we should be totally surrendered to the teachings of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he's the leader. Now, that's the idea of Mashiach. What's the Mashiach? Mashiach is going to be a teacher like Moses, but he's going to be a king like King David. A teacher makes you explain things, makes you understand. But a king tells you to do things that are against your understanding. You think one way, a king tells you to do something else. That's why everybody hated King David. I mean, they also hated Moses, but they hated Moses also from that aspect that Moses was also a king. It says, Vayibu Yeshua and Melech. Because people don't like kings, right? People don't like kings. that idea of not liking kings, that was sort of put into the world by Napoleon. And the only one that opposed Napoleon was the previous Lubavitcher, was the first Rebbe of Chabad. All the other great leaders in Judaism of the time, including the Hasidic leaders, they all favored Napoleon because he wanted to knock down the kings. That everyone was going to be, you'll be your own king. And the first Rebbe of Chabad was fire against Napoleon. Napoleon was an evil guy. Napoleon was an evil guy, but everybody thought he was good because he was against the kings. That was one of his main things. But the first Rebbe of Chabad was against him. Why? Because kings, even though the kings that were in existence then were terrible, I mean, they were despots, they were anti-Semites to the highest degree, right? But on the other hand, they were kings. There was such a thing as kingship in the world. And it reminded everyone that we have a lot what to do. And if Napoleon came, everybody would think, that's it. We're free. Now we can learn Torah. We can do mitzvahs. We don't have to have the ultimate king, which is the Moshiach. And the Nasi who are called, in Mishnah, a Nasi is the king. In any case, the Nasi is everything. The leader is everything. Now, just so that everybody gets this a little bit right, we know what we're talking about, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. Let's look over here. Here we go. Rebbe Yosef. There we go. Here we go. There's a picture. See, that's a picture of the previous Rebbe. Just so that we know a little bit what we're talking about. Good. You can read a biography of him. Very, very amazing. Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Snerson. There's pictures. Beautiful. Okay, so in any case, everyone's supposed to be waiting for Mashiach. Rambam, Maimonides says, anyone who doesn't believe in Mashiach and wait for him, he's denying the whole Torah. So you don't think it's Chabad, others just think it's somebody else, but you have to find someone that is the Mashiach, and you have to be waiting for him impatiently, and that person has to have the criteria that Maimonides says. He's the only one that says what Mashiach is. In any case, we have to be waiting for him, and the Nasi is everything that every person, everything that we do should be connected to the leader of the generation. And by means of this, Shemaleim, that we are filled with doing what the previous Rebbe said we should do. And he was the Moses of our generation. He was the first Redeemer. He'll be the last Redeemer. His whole thing is all that the previous Rebbe said and all that he wanted was to bring to the days of the Mashiach in actuality. So, like I say, you want to have an argument, you don't agree that the Rebbe is, that Chabad is, okay, that's not important. You can say Chabad is not the Mashiach, but you have to be longing and doing everything possible to bring Mashiach. Everything possible, according to the standards of the Maimonides Ram. I think most people that find out that they say, I can't be Chabad as a Mashiach, that they're not waiting for Mashiach at all, and they don't even know what it means. They don't know what Mashiach is. Of course I'm waiting for Mashiach. What are we waiting for? We'll see. When he comes, we'll see. That's not Judaism. It says the Rebbe Mashiach is going to be a person that his whole goal is only going to be to wake up all of the Jewish people about how important we are to God and how important God is to us. Well, add on, that the fact that we know that immediately the previous Rebbe is going to be here. Like it says, all of the Jews are going to raise up from the dead. It says the big tzaddikim are the first, and the previous Rebbe will look at each person, each one of his chassidim, amakusharim, that are connected to him, and he will examine each one of them. There'll be an examination. That all of his deeds and all of the work that he began, that we should finish. I mean, the previous Rebbe was quite incredible, quite just even physically, a quite amazing person. I mean, he defied the communist government, and he sent out Hasidim in communist Russia to teach children Torah. And they had to make secret yeshivas underground. And the yeshivas, there couldn't be more than like 5-6 pupils. Because if there were somebody within, everyone was a spy. 1/3 of the Russian population, they were spies. Everyone was spying on everyone else. Everybody loved Stalin. Everybody hated everything else, right? Judaism was one of the big, how do you say, the curses over there. They're trying to get away from all religion. Stalin, they say he killed 50 million of his own people. There's different estimates, 20 million, 30 million. And everybody loved him. They all revered him. They took the people's fathers away and children away. And the children still loved Stalin. And one of the most, how do you say, anti-government and anti-communist things you could do was to be religious, and especially Judaism. And the previous Rebbe, not only did he hold on and he survived, he actually spread Judaism in those situations. He convinced his Hasidim go out to build mikvahs, and everything had to be in total secrecy. And they were caught and they were killed and they were this. And the previous Rebbe he himself was caught and he was sentenced to death. And miraculously he got out. And he got out. He was they evicted him from Russia. He said he didn't want to leave his Hasidim in Russia. He would rather be run after and pursued over there, but not to leave his Hasidim. But they evicted him from Russia. And then he was in the bombardment of Warsaw. And then he came to America. And in America, there was, no spreading of Judaism. The religious Jews were totally isolated. And when he came there, he started spreading out Judaism. He was hated by everybody. All the religious Jews, there were some of them that respected him tremendously, but this whole idea of spreading Judaism out, where'd you get this? You're just going to arouse, there's going to be another Holocaust. But the Rebbe said, no, I'm going to wake up all of the Jews that they're going to realize what a Jew is. And it's happening. Now it's happening. It's happening big time. Therefore, it is fitting and proper to arrange Hasidic get-togethers, beginning from this Shabbat, this coming Shabbat of the month of Shabbat, the Shabbat which blesses the whole coming month, and make for bringings in every Shabbat, like it says, Vayakel Moshe, like it says in the Parshas, and the Parshat Shabbat, Vayakel Moshe, it says that Moses gathered together. That's, the Yakel is in the end of Yakel Pekude, in the end of this book of Exodus. We'll see the Hakel Kehilot, to gather groups together every Shabbat in all of the synagogues and all of the places of learning, and they should learn the Torahs, the ideas of the Rebbe, and especially on Rosh Chodesh Shvat, on Rosh Chodesh Shvat, which this year is going to be, I think, on Sunday, Sunday night, I think. But like it says, Ba'ashtei Asar Chodesh, Shvat is the 11th month. Be'echad b'chodesh, on the first day of the month. What did Moses do back then? On the 11th month, on the first day of the month, this is the last year that the Jewish people were in Egypt, right before they went into Egypt, right before they went into Israel. So it said that's when Moses began to say over the book of Deuteronomy. And he said even more, you should explain the Torah and write it down in 70 languages. The Torah was supposed to be written and they did. They wrote it in 70. Why did he write it in 70 languages? Which is because the Torah is given to the Jews, but it's for the world. The commandments in the Torah are only for the Jews. There are 7 commandments which are for basically 7 prohibitions which are for the non-Jews. They say that there's also 30 positive things for them, and they're not exactly commandments. They're more like responsibilities that are given to all mankind. But nevertheless, it's all from the Torah. That's the whole idea of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, to spread out the Torah as far as possible and to arouse each and to strengthen each and every person, and especially the Jewish people first, in everything we talked about before. Loving God, loving every Jew, loving the Torah, doing more commandments, but especially all done under the the title of trying to bring Mashiach, and especially to bring the redemption immediately. And we should also arouse on the fact that Hachanos, Larichas Izvados, Basuri B'Shvat, there should be forbringings on the 10th day of Shvat, and certainly will be the Rebbe is saying this is 1992, right? So any second the previous Rebbe is supposed to come here back, supposed to be again to lead us. He is the first leader and the leader of our generation will be at the head of our generation. And they'll also be together with them. Like Judaism, there's 13 principles of faith. Maimonides also says this. The 13th of them is that the dead will rise up. All the dead will rise up. Huh? It's not some sort of a weird idea. It's a fact of business. That's it. The dead are going to rise. That's Judaism. It says they'll rise up. Moses is going to be with them. And they will all take the Jewish people out of Egypt, out of the Egypt we're in now, since that immediately on this Shabbat, Parshat Va'era, this coming Shabbat, the Rebbe was saying this on Shabbat. And he was saying right now it's supposed to happen. Even before we start to Mincha prayer, after prayer, says immediately, pop, all of a sudden the Holy Temple can come from heaven. All the Jewish people will go out of exile. Our children, the youth, the elders, our sons, our daughters, like we read in the Mincha prayer, Parshas Bo. And in the language of the Midrash, it says that Reuven and Shimon went into Egypt, and the same Reuven and Shimon, the 12 tribes, they will all come out of Egypt. All of the Jewish people will come out of the exile into the future redemption. And we're talking about all the Jewish people that died in Egypt. It says that 4/5 of the Jews that were in Egypt, they didn't leave. They stayed in Egypt. They stayed in Egypt. But they'll come out also. All the Jews that died in the desert, they'll come out. The Jews that were massacred in the destruction of the first temple, the second temple, etc. All of them, it's just, death is just temporary. They'll come back in their physical bodies. That's Judaism. Kolel, including Ha'aliyah, the Bnei Israel, all of the Jewish people will come. All the Jewish people not only come back to life, but they'll also be in the awareness of God, like Abraham and Isaac and Jacob were. Ha'etzem the Israel, the essence of the Jewish people, as it is one with the essence of God. And in this itself, it'll be higher and higher and higher, the awareness that we'll have of God. God is infinite. And so is the Jewish soul. Like it says, the Jewish people will go from strength to strength, from power to power, Yirat Elokim B'Tzion, and they will see God in Israel. Or in Israel, some people say Tzion is the holy temple, some people say Tzion. It means all these things. In Jerusalem, in the third temple, Beit HaMikdash HaShlishi, the triple temple that it'll contain also the first temple and the second temple will all be rolled up together. Mikdash Hashem Konan Yerdecha, that the third holy temple will be built by God. God himself will build it with his own hands. It'll come from heaven. And that'll take, immediately it can come down. It'll be ready, open for business. It says the Rebbe brings a proof from the Torah, 24 minutes, it'll be open for business right now. So it should happen, and it's going to happen, and we have to wait for it to happen, and we have to do everything possible to make it happen one moment earlier, that the whole world should feel the oneness of the creator of the universe. Okay, now I have a speech from the Rebbe, so let's do this 1 second. What I'm going to do here, stop the share. Set up this.